All right, everyone, welcome back and bear down. Thanks for being with me today. I do truly appreciate you being here. It's fun for me, and I hope it's fun for you. Today is going to be a topic that everybody's been clamoring around right now. This time of year is mock draft season. We're not doing a mock draft today, but we're going to talk realistically, because that's what we like to do on this channel, is dive into some of the analytics and talk real talk about what really could happen if the Bears trade down to different positions within the top 10. What that indicates, what it tips their hand, what they're really going to be doing if that's where they trade to, and what they're doing with those picks. So let's look at that. All right, so let's start off with our top 10 draft here. This is actually the top 14. I'm going to cut it off after the Bears because I don't realistically see the Bears trading past their second pick at number 9. So the Jets, Vikings, Broncos, Raiders, Saints, I think they're out of the picture. I don't think the Bears are realistically going to trade down that far. When you've got two top 10 picks, two top 9 picks, that is a golden opportunity to change your franchise, to really turn things around in a direction that you haven't been in, and to take two top-tier players that should be Pro Bowl caliber players at the top of the draft. So the Bears have an opportunity here. They can take number 1 and number 9. They could take a trade down and still take number 9. Let's see what it would mean if the Bears trade to each of these spots. So this is a slide from one of the different videos that we've already had before, but it shows some key indicators of what teams might be looking for in trading with the Bears. And there's one huge thing I want to point out before we even start, because I'm going to go to number 3. A lot of Bears fans say we can trade to 2 and trade to 3. We can do this with New England. I don't see the Bears trading with New England if they want wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't see that happening because you don't risk giving up that generational talent if that's your guy. So you do this pre-draft process, you do the combine, you do all your work, you do all your homework, and you get into it. And if Marvin Harrison Jr. is the guy that you love, you're not going to risk giving that up to the Patriots, who desperately need wide receiver as well. You just don't do that. So if the Bears want Marvin Harrison Jr., they're only going to go down to 2. And that's a spoiler because that's going to come up in here later. But realistically, I don't see the Bears trading with the Cardinals. The same reason, wide receiver. I don't see the Bears trading with the Chargers because realistically, the Chargers don't have a need to trade up in this draft. That's not going to happen. I'm not really keen on the Giants needing to trade up. I don't think that's realistic. I don't think Tennessee has a need to trade up. And Atlanta would have to give up a haul. So really, let's focus on a couple of those today. Number 1, what if the Bears hang on to their own number 1 pick? What is that tipping the hand of? Well, there's going to be a lot of things that lead up to the draft that will tell you more. If the Bears trade Justin Fields before the draft, well, there's your answer. You're getting Caleb Williams. 100% that's what's going to be happening. So if you see Justin Fields traded before the draft, done scenario. Maybe he doesn't get traded before the draft, and maybe he gets traded on draft day. Realistically, I see if the Bears keep their number 1 pick, and I have a 20% chance of this happening in my head. This is according to Adam. This is not according to some model or statistic anywhere. This is according to me. This is what I think, okay? If the Bears do hang on to that number 1 pick, there's a 55% chance they're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. and a 45% chance they'll take Caleb Williams. Now, different things will tip that scale, obviously. If Ryan Poles comes out early and says, nope, we're keeping Justin Fields, that obviously tips your hand. Taking Marvin Harrison Jr. if we get to draft day and number 1 is not traded. If the Bears trade Justin Fields, obviously that tips to Caleb Williams. 100% chance we're taking Caleb Williams at that point, or Drake May. I get there's other quarterbacks, but really, okay, for this scenario, quarterback, we'll say. Okay, so if the Bears are keeping that number 1 pick, it's because you don't want any risk whatsoever, or maybe the Commanders weren't willing to trade with us. That's a scenario that could happen. But let's look at number 2. If the Bears do trade with the Commanders, this is what I see. That means almost 100% that you are taking Marvin Harrison Jr. You're taking the safe bet. You're taking the route that leads you to the wide receiver that is the guy that you've deemed, this is the guy for our team. The Commanders are not taking wide receiver. They need a quarterback to overhaul and to start their rebuild. So I see this as the most likely trade down scenario. I give this a 60% chance, okay? Marvin Harrison Jr., there is the slight chance this could mean a double trade down. The double trade down is not very realistic. The teams go through their process and their procedure, and if he trades the trade before the draft, that means that's what they're doing, and they're taking Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 2. It could happen, so we're going to give it a 15%, but it's not likely to happen. All right, moving on. Number 3, this is the one that might surprise some Bears fans, but this is how you need to realize organizations are going to look at this thing. How far can you trade back and still get Joe Alt? If you're trading to number 3, you've given up that we're taking the quarterback we want or the wide receiver we want. So really, at the rest of the top of the draft, that's your offensive tackle that you're looking at. So if we're trading with the Patriots, that means we want Joe Alt, who is by far the best tackle in this draft. He could go at number 5 very easily to the Chargers. He could go, so you're not going to trade down to 6 and expect to take Joe Alt. You don't trade down past where you could get the player and take him. If you're going to take Joe Alt, this is what you're doing. You're trading down to number 3. That's the only scenario where I see the Bears trading with the Patriots. Now, if the Bears come out and announce they've traded with the Patriots, a lot of Bears fans will say, oh, that means we're getting Marvin Harrison Jr. No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that at all. If he still fell at 3, the Bears would take him, but that's not the gambling scenario that teams do. They're not going to gamble with that pick. It's not like you going to the roulette table, putting it on a number and saying, okay, it could happen red or black, or it could happen with a number. That's not what they do in these draft scenarios. If you've got the number 1 pick and you've zeroed in on your guy that you want, you're not going to go beyond where you could potentially take him. And this is where you'd see the Bears go if they're going to take Joe Alt. With Braxton Jones' situation, Darnell Wright, I don't see us focusing in on Joe Alt at the top of this draft. I see us getting Joe Alt if he falls to us later on, which is not going to happen. Okay, so this one is not a likely scenario. I see this at 5%. Next up, if we trade down to New York, what this means is you're willing to give up, and most places have the top 6 going wide receiver and quarterback across the board. So what you're saying is I'm okay giving up quarterbacks and wide receivers that I think are the best couple in this draft, and I'm willing to take whoever the leftover scrub is. So maybe that means Rome Odunze is gone. Maybe that means Marvin Harrison Jr. is gone, and you want Malik Neighbors, and he's potentially there, or maybe he's one of the top 5 gone as well, and now you're just having to pick whoever's available. The only reason you do this is if the Giants give you a massive haul that you can't turn down, and you think these top 6 players in the draft are all equally blue chip players that you're going to get a Pro Bowler out of. That's the only reason you do that. I don't see this happening. I don't see us trading with the Giants, and I don't necessarily know if the Giants are trading up for quarterback anyways. So this one, all the edges should be here. That's why I put edge in there too. All the edges should be there at 6. So if the Bears really fall in love with an edge and they think that Dallas Turner is the next Brian Burns and he's the best thing in this draft, then yeah, I could see this happening. But this isn't a very likely scenario to me, okay? Last one, number 8. The only reason you will drop down to number 8 and take 8 and 9 back-to-back is if you truly believe that there are 9 blue-chip players in this draft that are going to be Pro Bowlers. So there's 9 guys in this draft that you truly feel like, hey, we're okay taking this guy at 8 and at 9. Maybe that's Olu Fashanu. Maybe that's Leatu Latu. Who knows? There's 9 guys that we feel are all blue chip guys, and this has to be coupled with and you're getting a massive haul. I'm talking a bigger haul than we got last year for DJ Moore this year to trade down to number 8. You have got to get a bigger haul. I'm talking multiple first-round picks. I'm talking even swapping this year and potentially 3 to drop down to number 8. This is not a likely scenario unless you're getting a huge overpay in this draft, because there's an opportunity for the Bears here to take players that will generationally change this franchise with where we are. We're a year ahead of the rebuild from last year. This is not the same position where we had to completely transform the team from last year. We're halfway there this year. We still have some big steps to take. The Bears are not arrived. We are not division contenders yet. We got to see how this offseason goes, and there's a lot of potential for this team, but we're not there yet. So is there a player in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that's worth giving up to get a massive haul? And maybe that is something that will blow our socks off and we're not going to believe happen, like Kyle Pitts, this year's 8th for swapping to 1, next year's 1st, the year after's 1st, their 2nd this year, their 3rd this year, their 2nd next year, and their 2nd the following year too. Not realistic, okay? I'm going to preface it now. But if the Falcons did that to jump up to number 1 and leverage their entire future to give us that, that's a situation where Ryan Poles says, yep, I can't turn that down. That's 7 first and second round players plus Kyle Pitts and a 3rd rounder. I mean, that's massive. It would be historic. It would be up there. It would be right up there with the Saints trading their entire draft class to the Dolphins for Ricky Williams. I mean, that would be the type of stuff. We're resetting history with that type of draft. I give this a 15% because I don't really realistically see it happening. But with this class and the hype that could get built up around Caleb Williams and you saw what happened last year with Bryce Young. Everybody leading up to the draft was talking about him like he was walking on water. Caleb Williams is going to be more than that. Is he going to turn into that in the NFL? I don't know. You don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what Caleb Williams is going to turn into yet. But his hype is going to be bigger than Bryce Young's hype. I can guarantee you that. So as we lead up to the draft, if the Falcons say, hey, we're sick of this same old, we've got a pretty solid team. We've got 4 solid offensive linemen that can protect our quarterback. So it's different than what the Panthers went through last year. We got a totally different situation. We've got some solid receivers. We got a solid core in place, and we're in win now. Yeah, we're gonna leverage this sucker, and we're gonna go up and get Caleb Williams, and we're gonna win the South. That could happen. Realistically, I give that a 15% shot. So we're not going to say that's going. All right, so those are the scenarios I see playing out. A lot of fans are going to say this whole thing right here with Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. What's going to happen? It's going to be buzzing, guys. We're already seeing it. We're already seeing the Civil War. A lot of fans are going to say this is where we want to end up to grab Marvin Harrison Jr. That's not realistic, and that's part of what this video is. This hopefully will help to inform people that if the Bears are going to get Marvin Harrison Jr., this is where they're going to land right here to get him. And I see this being the most likely scenario. And we've talked about it in my other videos. This couple seconds or a second this year and a first next year, something in that range. This is very realistic to get Marvin Harrison Jr. and to be able to get a couple more draft picks to build for the future of the Bears. This is something that definitely sees happening. Anyways, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Hopefully this is informative to some of you. I love interacting with you guys. So leave your comments in the bottom. Let's talk this over. But this is realistic to what you can expect if you hear about a buzz draft trade. If something happens, this is what you can realize is going to be taking place with the Bears in their heads. All right, till next time, bear down.